So welcome in. I forgot to set up a tripod and video record my modeling session at CMC, so I figured I'd do a screencast of it, and here we go. So this screencast is modeling mathematics using problem-solving tasks, and the information you see in front of you are ways to contact me as well as find any of the resources that I've compiled for my CMC sessions. So check this out, a little bit about myself. I am a math and digital learning coach for my district this year. I have the pleasure of working with teachers and students 4 days a week in their classrooms, helping plan lessons and debrief with them, observe, give them teaching strategies, and even sometimes model lessons. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a huge learning experience, and I have so much to learn. But at the same time, it's pretty cool to have some aha moments with teachers and students this year. So for our modeling session today, I feel like I'd like to share with you some tools that I feel that have been very successful for me in the past few years. And here are some of the tools that I know that I need in my tool belt. One of them are resources. I need places to go. And when I go there, I need tasks and activities. So I'm going to share a few of those with you today. But you could have like the best lesson in the world, but what good is it if you don't have solid teacher moves? And then of course I feel like things that I need in my tool belt for sure are for the reason we do this, and that's to support students. So I need to find ways to support students. So if you got a pen or a pencil, I'm going to share with you right now some of the resources that I have in like my browser favorites bar. So go ahead and jot these down here. Now, all joking aside, I have a lot of places that I go to, but just think of the exponential power here. You go to one of those places and just think of all the activities and tasks that are at just one click. So I have my go-tos, and I want to share a few of those with you today, and we'll get to those. But let's talk about our 8 mathematical practices first. This session is for modeling, right? So that's mathematical practice number 4. And a good part of today will be spent talking about what modeling with mathematics is and what it isn't. So we're also going to cover that. But I'm going to tell you right now, I want to share a friend with you that, that maybe you might recognize this guy, and maybe you might not. So I'll give you a chance to see if you do recognize this guy. Have you figured it out? That's right, it's Mr. Messy. Now, this is one of my favorite books that I get to read with my son. And here's the deal. Mr. Messy is messy. He lives in a messy house. He has a messy yard. I mean, his house is just messy. And he went out walking one day and he ran into these 2 guys, Mr. Neat and Mr. Tidy. And they took one look, as you can imagine, at Mr. Messy and were like, whoa, hold on. This guy needs some help, some serious cleansing, let's say. And so they tossed him in their van, and Mr. Neat and Mr. Tidy went back, and they did exactly that. They worked on Mr. Messy. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that modeling with mathematics is messy. It can get really messy, and that can be scary for a lot of people. And I feel like there's ways to make things neat and tidy in math class, and there are, but I'm going to tell you right now, these modeling tasks can be extremely messy. If you've ever gone through a home remodeling or some type of construction, it's messy. And so I'm going to share with you, I think, the gateway drug here to modeling tasks. And for me, that's Estimation 180. Small, bite-sized, everyday little challenges that you could do with kids where they're identifying variables and just talking math and making just gut guesses and estimates. And you're kind of doing a modeling in a nutshell. So for me, that's the gateway drug. But I'm not here to talk about Estimation 180. I'm here to talk about modeling with mathematics. So here's our goal for today. Let's explore the Common Core state standards a little bit with the mathematical modeling. And let's do that by working on a problem-solving tasks. Let's compare the lesson flow and the teacher moves and see things that I would do or not do in the classroom. And I'll do my best on that one, even though this is a screencast here. And connect to the 8 mathematical practices, specifically number 4. and let's discuss what mathematical modeling is. I'm going to do my best to save time by using timers here. So on my handout that I gave my attendees, I gave them space at the bottom here to write down something they notice and something they wonder. So I'm going to ask you in that space to do that for me when I show you this short little video clip that I found interesting here. I'm going to share that with you here in a second. And after I show it to you, just feel free to take a minute to write down something you notice and something you wonder. Now in the classroom, I probably would show that video once or twice. And I'm speaking as a colleague now, so I'm going to go back and forth here between facilitating this lesson as a teacher, and I'm going to also step to the side and say, here, I'm a colleague from you and me, between you and me as teachers here. So hopefully I'll do that as best as possible. So let's say I've shared that with you guys, and I've asked you guys to write down some things you've noticed and wondered here, and I would spend time asking you guys to tell me about that in some way. And there's many ways to get kids sharing. So a big thing in my classroom is think, pair, share. Get kids to think it, and then maybe write it, and then share with a partner, and then we share a whole group. That's huge for me, and that's important. But I struggle with this part because it's just tough. It's like, how do I capture that? I'm not going to listen to every kid's noticings and every kid's wonderings, and that's extremely challenging for me. So I know they've written it on their paper, and it's trapped on their paper, which is extremely frustrating. So whatever your system is in your classroom, get kids questions. And the important part about that is the fact that we need those things. We need kids to share their questions and share the things they noticed, and we need to capture that somehow. So whether or not that's through Google Drive, by creating a Google form and having them fill out a form, or Pear Deck is out there, Poll Everywhere. There's just ways to capture the thoughts of students, and we need to do that. Or even if you have scribes in the classroom, like 3 people in the classroom writing down the things kids say. If you have a kid on a whiteboard, either way, like that to me might be one of the most beneficial things, is if you have the thoughts shared with the whole class in a public space on a whiteboard that they can all see and refer back to throughout the modeling process. So let's say I've listened to all these questions that might have come up after this task, after seeing the swing and the things that have happened with the swing and the playground. So I would say, look, those are all good questions, and I think we can answer them all. And here's the one question that I was thinking, and I feel like we could all work together and work on this one question right now. And probably if we have enough time, we'll go back and answer your questions at the end. But for right now, let's all write this one question down and work on it together. So the question I have is, how many total times will the swing wrap around the pole? Let me know if you have any clarifying questions here. And if you don't have any clarifying questions, what I would ask you to do is here, give me a guess that's too low, give me a guess that's too high, and then write down your actual guess here. How many total times will the swing wrap around the pole? And that's right there from start to finish. So one more time, it's so important to me that I capture your guesses, whether it's on a whiteboard using like the public space in the classroom, or it's anything like Poll Everywhere, or a Google Drive form, or Pear Deck, or anything else out there, or even a spreadsheet on your computer. Getting kids' names and guesses is important. Somehow get those. Don't just get a few, get as many as possible. So let's say I've captured guesses. There's another way to do it. You can even pass out sticky notes and get kids to write their guess and their name on their sticky note, and then you order it in your class somehow. So let's say 2 is the lowest, 30 is the highest here. Get kids to make a line plot of all their guesses in the classroom. Carve out some space on your wall, whatever it may be. That's super important. Once you've got your guesses, Now let's start working towards answering that question that we wrote down on our paper. So I'm going to ask you to take about a couple minutes to write down something right here on your handout of what information would be useful to know. So go ahead and pause the video, and what would be useful to know here? Okay, so now that you've got that, you're going to be asking me for questions, right? Same thing, try and capture this stuff somewhere, okay? Now chances are good in an audience, they're going to ask for a lot of things here on this task with the swing wrap task. And that's fun. Doesn't mean I have it all, but I'll give you what I was able to measure here. I'm not too stingy here. I figured if you ask for it, I'm going to try and give it to you. But before I say, hey, here's the length of that chain, let's have a little fun here. Like, why don't you make a guess here? How long is that part of the chain swing? Or swing chain? Cool. So that's what your guess is. Here's what it actually is. It's 6 feet. So on your handout, I gave you a little space here for you to go ahead and jot down the information that you were given. So go ahead and maybe draw a picture here and label the fact that that chain length is 6 feet. And this is the fun part. People ask for interesting things, and some are more important to others than you would think. So what's important to me might not be important to you. So here's what I was able to measure. If you go closer to the top, I measured that the diameter of the pole is 2 7/16 of an inch, and all these other interesting things on this chain setup are measured as is. So go ahead and take a second to pause the video and jot down whatever you feel is necessary. If you need a close-up, there's the actual chain links. But I'll go back and show you what we got here. Cool. All right. So now here's what's crazy. You might have information that you wanted to see. You might have a plan in mind. And I'm going to give you individual time on your handout to work on your representation, test your ideas, and make revisions. But before you do so, and I usually give students maybe longer than 5 minutes, which is totally fine. Let me tell you guys what I have a huge request here. During your individual time, I'm asking you not to be thieves. Please do not rob others of their individual think time. And here's my point on this one. You guys know how it is. When you're in a group, either with adults or you have a group of students, and the second you go to group work, there's always that one person that just jumps in and says, hey guys, I know what to do. And what does the rest of the group do? They shut down. They can't think, they can't work on their own idea, and then now they have to listen. So this is so important in a modeling task that you give students enough think time. And one more time during that think time, have them individually work on their representation, test their ideas, and make revisions. There will be group time. You never know. So go ahead and pause the video and work on this task here for as long as you need here as an individual. Now, if you kept the video playing, that's cool. Some students might ask for a picture of what that swing looks like when there's only 2 wraps. So I do have that, and that's kind of fun and interesting. Cool. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I would only show that if kids want to see it. That's kind of fun. So let's say you're done working on your individual time. Timer's up, we've stopped. It's time to move on to group work. And depending on that time, maybe you need 10 minutes. Maybe this is the next day in class. I don't know, but I'm busting out this huge white thing in my classroom, and each group gets one of these. And they're getting a huge, large whiteboard. And they're going to work on this task as a group. Here are the things they're going to do. They're going to collaborate to solve this task together, organize their solution, and be ready to present their solution. Now I say this, these are large whiteboards, and this is so important that they're large. They're not small, because you want to write this in a way that anybody from across the room could see your work. That's super cool. And this is my advertisement. Like, you need to get these